Who doesn't like this music? Tri-City Sports Now. All right, I'm Marky Billson. You can listen to us on jetbroadcasting.live. If you're away from your radio, AM 1420, or this reception isn't the, and of course, no matter where you are, live or archive Facebook page, the most popular Facebook page of any sports radio station in the market is our own Tri-Cities Sports Now. A couple of updates on some stories that I was telling you about. Antonio Brown, his helmet. He's now gone to Twitter. See, his helmet, an arbitrator, when they said, okay, you got to use, modern helmet, but you can use the helmet you have. It was made in 2011. It's called an AIR, is it forgive me, I'm seeing the listening, but it's an AR. It's a helmet that was created in 1911. Well, if you can use that, if you can find one that's less than 10 years old. All right, I should point this out. It wasn't made in 1911. It was discontinued in 1911. So, therefore, yeah, you figure if you can find a helmet of his liking that was made in 2010, 2011, okay. Arbitrator said you can use one, you can find one that's less than 10 years old. Car seats, for instance, you cannot use a car seat that's more than 3 years old. So it gives you the idea of where the mentality that you're going on such here. All right. So he's now on Twitter. Anybody got one of these old helmets for me? Can I use one of these helmets? You're talking about vision. That's the thing. I mean, you would be able, I would think, to make some adjustments with the face mask and all that so you could see your vision, because that's what he initially was talking about. Antonio Brown coming away, as if you didn't know it before, quite the clubhouse lawyer. Anyway. So that's one of the things, updates. Tom Brady, by the way, like I said, Tom Brady used an old-fashioned helmet, and he said, look, I'm not too happy about this. Again, he sounds like a motorcycle rider who doesn't want to use his helmet. Doesn't want to wear his helmet. All that sort of thing. He sounds like the a guy who doesn't want to wear a seatbelt. My car exploded. I didn't want time to take my seatbelt off. One of those guys. Brady, though, looks at it philosophically. I don't really have that much of a choice about this. I think I'm going to have to get into the new era. That's what he has actually made his comment on. And yeah, we've talked about this before. We're ahead of the curve. I was telling you about Vices and all this when this show was restarted back in 2012. By the way, college football note, and this is a little bit old, but I do want to mention it here, where the Miami Hurricanes have made their decision who's going to be their starting quarterback. And I mentioned this because, of course, it's not going to be Cade Weldon now, is it? And, of course, he transferred to ETSU. The question is now, is Weldon going to be the ETSU quarterback? Anyway, Jalen Williams is going to be named the starter instead of Tate Mitchell, who transferred in from Ohio State. Interesting. If you're still one of these people who live behind the times, I guess Miami, I'm in the Miami quarterback that still has some sort of, cachet to it. Why doesn't the Purdue quarterback have more cachet? Well, Purdue loses a lot, Marky. What's Miami been doing lately? I mean, you really want to get down to brass tacks. Well, they did go to they're 10-0 and go to the Coastal Division ACC championship game before. One time since joining the ACC. That's the thing about the conference realignment. Works for some teams, doesn't work for others. Ask yourself, would Miami be better off right now if they were still the big fish in the small pond known as the Big East? Because that's when the Big East started to fall apart, when Miami and started, when they left. And so, yeah, you're going like, wait a minute here. And why did Miami leave? I always thought that was a bad move for Miami. Now, would the demise of the Big East have been inevitable? They hired the wrong president, the old Providence AD, saw basketball before football. I mean, Miami didn't even have basketball in the 70s, right? Most of them. I think he may have had a team in 1970. They didn't even bring it back until 1986, if memory serves. So, they're an independent then. They could do whatever they wanted. And, yeah, there is the question of would the Big East have been able to be stable, that sort of thing. Were they actually getting ahead of the curve by jumping to the ACC? That's a legitimate argument. But I always thought by leaving the Big East and going to the ACC, see, Miami, they were number one in the Big East. They were the school to follow. They were the one that everybody envied. They were the one that when they went on a road, everyone wanted to go to that game. If you were only going to go to one, if you were in a Big East school, you were at Temple or something, you lived in Philly, or you lived in Pittsburgh and Pitt was there, whatever, you're only going to go to one game, you were going to go to the Miami game. That was the big draw when Miami came to town. They were the program. And they always beat Florida State. And Florida State was supposed to be equal, but they'd always beat Florida State. And then, when they joined the ACC, they in effect said, hey, we're now equal to Florida State when they had been superior. And yeah, I think that's where the demise of Miami started. It didn't help any when they got rid of the Orange Bowl. Now we've had, Susan Degnan on the show, Miami Herald beat writer, and she said, well, you know what, I mean, it's not that far from the campus Coral Gables to the Dolphin Stadium. But Coral Gables is actually south of Miami, and the Hurricanes now play between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. And the enrollment of Miami, I mean, it's a private school, and all the enrollment in Miami isn't that much. So, you're dealing and you're going to be drawing from City of Miami, as well as Coral Gables and all this. Always would take me a million years to get from, it's a 9-mile drive down US 1, and it seems to take 2 hours to go the 9 hours, because all the stoplights, all the traffic from Miami to get to Coral Gables, if you're so inclined. So then you go up to, it's not, it used to be Joe Robbie Stadium. What is it now? That was Pro Player Stadium. I mean, Dolphins, I have lost track. There's naming rights. It just, destroys you. You forget what the stadium is actually called. But it's on Dan Marino Street, I believe. Anyway, but by moving from the Orange Bowl, you were moving, so, well, it's less than an hour away. It takes, if I'm down there, it takes me more. It takes me longer. Yeah, I like going to Miami. Sure, who doesn't? Yeah, it's Miami. Yeah. Anyhow, a couple other football notes here from the weekend that I saw. A lot of news about kickers, which may not be all that exciting, but nevertheless, I gotta give credit to Chandler Catanzaro. He's 28 years old. He stood to earn $2.3 million, as a matter of fact, if he stuck it around and made the Jets. But he wasn't doing well, so he just upped up and retired. He made his millions before, and he just left it on the table for the Jets. So there you go. Also, the Baltimore Ravens, they're pretty established at kicker with an all-pro in Justin Tucker. So they traded an up-and-coming kicker to the Minnesota Vikings, Kari Vedvik. I'm not a big fan of trading for kickers. I mean, I know there might be the idea of a bidding war or something, but if the Vikes had really wanted, I mean, Ravens were going to have to cut one or the other. So if they wanted to sign one of these guys, why not wait till then? You're afraid of a bidding war? That's ideal for a free agent kicker, I suppose, but, still saying, Dome Stadium here, it'll be very easy, you'll be very successful in all this. And then, showing the way things are going in pro sports today, Stephen Ross, he's a football player for the, Stephen Ross is not, he is actually the owner of the Dolphins. I'm getting confused with Joe Robbie here and all. Stephen Ross was called out by one of his players who said he was freaked out because the owner went to a Donald Trump fundraiser. Shows you how that's going to be very interesting right there to see how that works. Because if the player, and his name is Kenny Stills, were to get cut and all that, then you're going to have that feeling of, well, was Colin Kaepernick, did he get blackballed because he spoke out and knelt for the anthem? Or was it like I think, he was 1-11 as a starter and the worst quarterback in the league in the pocket and wanted a starting job? Hear this from Asian House.